You will no doubt encounter at least a few assignments during your high schooling. Thankfully for you, I have decided to devote an entire separate video on how to ace your assignments. So here I'll give you a few tips and tricks to ace your assignment writing and hopefully perform as well as you possibly can academically on them. All good assignments start off with a plan. In most assignments, you will need to pick a topic to start off with. So if it's a research investigation, for example, you'll start off picking a claim, and then you'll develop a research question from that for your rationale, in which that is what you're going to base your essay from. The important thing for that first step of choosing your topic is to make sure that there's going to be enough research out there to support your assignment. If there's not enough, then you want to find out sooner rather than later so you can change topic, change to something that you can write a good assignment about. The next thing you want to consider when you're choosing a topic is you want to find something that interests you. If you're doing something which absolutely bores you to death, you're less likely to put as much effort in, and chances are you're not going to perform as well at it. So you pick something which is interesting. And lastly, but most importantly of all, make sure what you're doing is you're able to easily write it to the marking guide. Your end goal for an assignment is to perform as well as you can academically, to get the highest mark possible, not to write out an absolute brilliancy. So make sure that the topic you choose is relevant to the task and that you're not unnecessarily overcomplicating things. A trap that I often see people get into when they're choosing a topic is they waste far too much time on it. If you waste a week or two more than you need to deciding what topic you're doing, that's a week or two less time you're going to have to draft up your assignment and polish it up for submission. So the other thing to keep in mind is think about what I was saying about available research. Is this topic interesting to you, and does it fit the marking guide, ISMG, or whatever you call it, rubric? But make sure you don't spend too much time on that, because you want to actually leave yourself enough time to write assignments. And this is something that students often forget. Your end goal for an assignment, as I was saying just before, is to not write an absolute brilliancy. Your end goal is to just perform as well as you can to get the highest mark you possibly can. That's what you're looking for. So just keep that in mind. Okay, now it's time to write your assignment. First and foremost, I'd say make sure you understand the marking guide. The ISMG, the rubric, the criteria, whatever you call it, whatever your assignment is marked with, make sure you understand how you can hit those points. Your teacher won't be able to tell you exactly you need to do this within your assignment to get these marks, but your marking guide will tell you what. It's basically how your teachers mark the assignments. So you'll be able to work out from it with experience what they're looking for. And sure, you won't always have access to an exemplar, but the marking guide is a great place to start. If you're doing an assignment which requires a level of background research, make sure you do as much of it as possible as early as possible, because the more in-depth knowledge you have on the topic, the more sophisticated your essay is going to be, and the better you're going to perform overall. The better you're going to be able to hit that marking guide. Referencing, that's something you don't want to leave until too late. Make sure you've got enough references. Make sure that you reference appropriately. You give other people credit for their work, which you are referencing the ideas from. Make sure that you don't commit any sort of plagiarism, whether that be accidental or intentional. And plagiarism does include people using AI inappropriately too. And of course you can't say, oh, AI wrote my assignment, I'm going to reference it here. That doesn't work like that. That is still academic misconduct. You've got to write the assignment in your own words. And then for other people that you are citing, you've got to give them appropriate credit where the credit is required. So make sure you understand what is required for referencing. And more often than not, when you have assignments, you're also going to have concurrent classwork. So that's classwork that you're covering at the same time as you're writing the assignments in that class. Whilst it can be tempting to just forget about the classwork until the assignment is due, that can only lead to you falling behind in the classwork and becoming incredibly stressed later on. So make sure that you make sure you pay attention in class, not sneakily doing your assignment when the teacher's going through content, because you don't want to fall behind on the content front. When it comes time for submission, make sure you proofread, and proofread. Give yourself enough time to do this, because you don't want to realize later on after you submit your final, I left a grammatical error there. Silly places to lose marks. Or you don't want to realize that because of the way that you've structured your sentence, the meaning is clouded, which when a marker reads it, they take a different interpretation of it, and they don't realize that what you're trying to say, and you lose a mark or two for it. So make sure you proofread your work, and ideally proofread your draft as well, and I'll talk about drafts here too. If you've got a draft, make sure you submit a full draft. When you submit that draft, you want to make sure that you get as much feedback as possible from your teacher. So submit a full draft. More often than not, I see students who don't submit a full draft perform significantly worse for two reasons. One, they don't get as much feedback from the teacher, so often they fall behind in the later criteria. And two, they don't have as much time to proofread and refine their final copy of their assignment because they didn't submit a full draft, so they're finishing off their basic draft after the draft was due and returned. So submit a full draft, and that will also mean and proofread that draft, proofread your final. Those are foolproof techniques. When you're submitting your assignment, you also want to ideally submit it at least 2 days early. Look, I'll be honest, I haven't always done that. I try to, and the benefit to that is you're less likely to make any rash decisions, and if there's any problems for whatever reason, like you realize there's a massive flaw to the logic in your assignment, you can consult your teacher and hopefully fix that up before it's due. You wouldn't want to lose quite a few marks as a result of not having enough time to fix something up when you realize that you've done something wrong. And final piece of advice, please make sure that after you submit your assignment, that you check that you've submitted the right thing. You don't want to spend all those extra hours refining your assignment, taking on your draft feedback from your teacher to realize that you've submitted a draft. Or even worse, a blank document. So afterwards, please make sure that you submitted the right thing. Now everyone, best of luck for assignment writing. If you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'll have some videos on physics. When I'm done with that, I might get onto some maths. And everyone, thanks for watching.